Hey, it's Trevor Hamaker, creator of Better Youth Ministry. I'm glad you're checking out this video. If you like it, I'd love for you to subscribe, and that way you don't miss any of the future videos that I put together. I hope by now you've had a chance to see The Last Dance. It's the documentary series about Michael Jordan's career, and it specifically narrates his final season with the Chicago Bulls as they try for their second three-peat of NBA championships. And honestly, you don't even have to be a sports fan to appreciate the series. It's relentlessly raw and personal. You got Jordan himself along with past teammates and then other people, and they're all offering their unfiltered commentary about things that were happening in those years. There's a real human element to it. Personalities clash, feelings get hurt, dreams aren't reached, but then also true to life, there are a whole lot of good moments too that happen along the way. I feel like there are just so many moments in the series that anyone can identify with. And that's because life dishes out good times as well as hard times, no matter who you are, NBA player, single mother, or youth pastor. And when it comes down to it, Michael Jordan's Chicago Bulls were overwhelmingly successful. Between 1991 and 1998, they won 6 NBA championships, winning 3 in a row 2 different times. Now, I think that we can always learn from successful people and teams, so when I finished watching the episodes, I thought about what I had witnessed, and I was able to identify 7 lessons from The Last Dance for youth pastors. Honestly, there were probably more, but these are the ones that stood out most to me. Lesson number 1, groups can be turned around. Before 1991, the Bulls had never won an NBA championship. Between 1976 and 1985, the team went through 7 different coaches, and the players were less than committed to their craft. But Michael Jordan knew what it was like to win. When he was at the University of North Carolina, he was coached by the legendary Dean Smith, and he had scored a buzzer-beating shot to win the 1982 NCAA championship. So when the Bulls drafted Jordan, it was a turning point in their franchise.
The Chicago Bulls pick Michael Jordan of the University of North Carolina.
It took some time to turn things around, but Michael Jordan taught the Bulls how to be champions. So here's a pro tip for youth pastors. If your ministry is in need of a turnaround, don't give up. Lead them to where you know they can go. Lesson number 2, surround yourself with a balanced team. Before the 1991 championship, Jordan had won numerous personal awards, but the Bulls still hadn't won a championship. Winning a championship would take a team. So today, when we talk about the Bulls' success, it's hard to do that without also mentioning Scottie Pippen. The Bulls added Pippen in 1987 along with Horace Grant and some three-point shooters, so the team was balanced, and Jordan trusted his teammates to do their jobs, and the result was the team's very first championship in 1991. Later, in 1995, the Bulls found themselves in need of some roster changes. They were struggling on defense, and they desperately needed some help with getting rebounds. That's when they added Dennis Rodman to fill the role. Rodman was then instrumental in the Bulls' next 3 championships. And sure, he was odd and unpredictable at times, but his skills and effort on the court complemented what the Bulls already had in place. So the pro tip for youth pastors is to look for volunteers who can make your ministry better. Lesson number 3, get the right coach. Phil Jackson was the coach of the Bulls during their championship runs, and he deserves a great deal of credit. He pushed the players when they needed to be pushed, and he backed off when they needed to be left alone. Prior to the Bulls, Jackson coached in the Continental Basketball Association as well as the Professional Basketball League in Puerto Rico. In those years, he had a track record of winning. Then, when he started with the Bulls, he introduced a system called the triangle offense. That system was instrumental in the Bulls championships, and then Jackson used it later to win 5 more championships with the Los Angeles Lakers. A good coach and a good game plan made a big difference for both of those teams. So here's a pro tip for youth pastors. A good coach can help you level up your ministry. And this is a good place to stop and say, if you want to move your ministry forward, I can help you. Check out my coaching page at betteryouthministry.com/coaching. Lesson number 4 from The Last Dance, find ways to get away. Michael Jordan took basketball seriously and he excelled on the court. When it was time for practice or time for a game, he was focused and ready. But he also found ways to get away and cut loose, and one of the ways he did that was by playing golf. Jordan was introduced to the game of golf by Davis Love III, who was a classmate of Jordan's at UNC Chapel Hill. He started out slow, just driving the cart and tagging along when Love went to the course. But then slowly, his curiosity and competitiveness moved him out of the cart and onto the course. Eventually, golf gave Jordan a way to escape the pressure cooker environment of the NBA. He says, "It's been a place where I've been able to get away from all the noise, and I desperately needed that." So here's a pro tip for youth pastors. Refill your emotional tank because you can't help people when you're running on empty. Lesson number 5, guard your thoughts. Something that stood out to me was what Jordan said to Phil Jackson in the very last episode. They had just won their final championship together, and Jackson asked, "Did you think we could do it?" And Jordan replied, "I knew we would do it." An NBA season is long and grueling. Teams travel thousands of miles, players spend countless nights away from their homes and families, not to mention the demand for attention from fans and media. All of it can wear a person down mentally. That's why Jordan's response to his coach stood out to me. Reporters hounded his every move all season long. The naysayers said the Bulls' run was over, but he was undeterred. Through it all, he was locked in and focused on the goal, winning their 6th championship. So here's a pro tip for youth pastors. If you don't believe in what you're doing, neither will anyone else. Lesson number 6, do the work. When Jordan returned to basketball after a brief detour into minor league baseball, he had a long way to go to get back into playing shape. It was the summer of 1995, and he was also scheduled to film the movie Space Jam. To do it all, Jordan worked on the movie from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. with a 2-hour workout in the middle of the day. Then when filming was over for the day, other NBA players would join him to play pickup basketball games until 10 o'clock at night. The other NBA players were in awe of Jordan's work ethic that summer. Reggie Miller, a Hall of Fame player who played in those pickup games, said, "I don't know how he did it. I don't know how he had the energy to film all day and then still play 3 hours. This dude was like a vampire for real." So here's a pro tip for youth pastors. Success requires sacrifice. When you say yes to something, you have to say no to something else. And the final lesson, lesson number 7, don't give up too soon. The Bulls knew that the 1998 season would be their last season together. Jerry Krause, the team's general manager, had told Phil Jackson that Jackson wouldn't return for the next season even if the team went 82-0 that year. That's why when Jackson wanted to come up with a theme for the season, he chose The Last Dance. After they won the championship that year, Jackson and Jordan retired. Scottie Pippen was traded, and Dennis Rodman was released. Jordan says that he thinks they could have brought everyone back for one more run at a championship the next year, but that's not what happened. Instead, it seems like everyone, including everyone who watches The Last Dance, is left wondering what might have been. So here's a pro tip for youth pastors. Leaving your ministry too early will leave you with regret. So now it's your move. Michael Jordan is arguably the greatest basketball player of all time. While his personal vices might not be things you consider worthy of emulating, his passion, skills, and drive to excel at basketball are certainly worth remembering. When I watched The Last Dance, it reminded me of how great Jordan truly was in his era. Because of his ability to win consistently, those of us who want to make a difference in youth ministry should really learn what we can from Michael Jordan. Once again, just to recap, these are the 7 lessons that I took away from The Last Dance. 1. Groups can be turned around. Lead your ministry to where you know it can go. 2. Surround yourself with a balanced team. Look for volunteers who can make your ministry better. 3. Get the right coach. A good coach can help you level up your ministry. 4. Find ways to get away. You can't help people when you're running on empty. 5. Guard your thoughts. If you don't believe in what you're doing, neither will anyone else. 6. Do the work. Success requires sacrifice. And 7. Don't give up too soon. Leaving too early will leave you with regret. So I wonder which of these lessons is the most important for you right now. Also, if you've seen The Last Dance, I wonder which lessons you might add to this list. How about letting me know in the comments below? Also, if you like this video and don't want to miss out on any future videos that I put out, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell for notifications.